Hello and welcome back to Mr. Haas's Math Help videos. Got a real quick one here for you. We're into geometry right now, so this is the area of shapes. We're talking about two-dimensional figures, which is why all of your units are going to be squared. In other words, that's why we have our 2 up here in our little exponent area. One thing that we're going to start with here are rectangles or quadrilaterals. These have 4 sides. A cube, which is nothing more than a specialized version of a rectangle. You have base times height. That's our formula for a rectangle. And you'll know a rectangle because it has 90 degrees, right angles in all 4 corners. Opposite sides have the same value. So if this one over here is 5, this one has to be 5. If this is 10 up here, well, gosh darn it, this has to be 10 down here. If we have a cube, obviously all the sides are going to be the same. Okay, so when we go for the formula for that, it is base times base, or you can even say base squared. That's going to give us our area of our rectangles and cubes. A very similar shape, quadrilateral, because it has 4 sides, is our parallelogram. Parallelogram has to have 2 lines which are a pair that are parallel. Okay, so these are the 2 that are going to, actually you got 2 sets. 2 lines parallel, 2 sets. Okay, of 2 lines. Now, when we figure out this, we're going to have the base times the height, and we get the height from here, from one of the kind of corners here to where it makes a 90-degree angle, right angle. Okay. Think of it this way: if I took this little triangle over here, cut it off, and put it over here, I've got myself a rectangle, just like up above. Okay, so that's where we get base times height, and again, our units are squared. So if I had, let's say I had a height of, let's say 6, and our base was, and by the way, these are going to be the exact same, right? Let's say my base was 10, I'm going to have 60. 6 times 10. Hey, don't get confused if they give you a number out here like 8. Ignore it. That's usually they're putting that in there just to confuse you. So this is going to be 60, and I'm going to put units squared because I didn't tell you what units we got. Moving on to our next shape, we have triangles. Triangles can come up in many different ways, forms. The way that we come up with the formula of 1/2 base times height for triangles is that if you take a look at a triangle, it's nothing more than you take a rectangle and slice it right down the middle. Same thing could be held true here. If I take this one and chop it right down the middle, I could take that other half and put it over here, and it's going to become a rectangle. Okay? So the base is always, well, we're going to go with the one on the bottom here, and the height, well, that's this side over here, or as you can see, I've got the height labeled there. You can even have a triangle that is kind of like that, okay? Well, your height you get there, okay? So that's your height. This is our original triangle. So this would be our base along here, and this would be our height, okay? So that's our triangles, 1/2 base times height. You can use 0.5 if you want. It works out just as well. If I were to do, let's say we had this nice right triangle right here, and I'm going to do 5, and this one's going to be 4, and this one's going to be 3. In this case, for this triangle, that would be 3 times 4 times that 0.5, or 1/2 of it. Here I have 12 times 0.5, that's 6 units squared. Okay, again, make sure you're keeping your units nice and square. Okay, here are some examples that I put together for us. Rectangles, a 7 by 10 rectangle. Notice that the opposite sides are always the same. And so in this case, it's 10 times 7, base times height. 70 cubic centimeters. For my parallelogram, I had 20 along one set of parallel edges. I have 8 on the other, but please ignore that. Pay no attention to that. That is a distractor. The height is what you're looking for. It has to meet at right angles right in here. It cannot be one of these ones that's slanting. So we have 6 times 20. 6 times 20, that gives us 120 centimeters squared, base times height. Triangle, I've got a couple more examples of triangles. 10 times 9 is 90, half of 90 is 45, that's why that's 45 centimeters. Here we have, looks like more of an isosceles triangle. Isosceles has 2 sides that are the same. An equilateral triangle is kind of a cool triangle in that and I didn't do it correctly, where all the sides are the same, and that means that all the angles are the same. In this case, these angles would be the same because they're opposite. This would be a different angle, and this would be a different side value for it. This is where our isosceles. This is our equilateral. Equal because everything's equal in there. Anyway, on this isosceles triangle, we had a base of 14, a height of 10 going up and down here. 14 times 10 is 140. Half of 140 is 70. Remember, your units are squared, whether they're inches, centimeters, feet, miles. Thank you. Watch for more videos.